I really have no idea how long you're gonna be talking about this movie. Alright, so I just got back from my when was it? 6 o'clock showing of, yeah, weird, right? 6 o'clock showing of Raya and the Last Dragon. Um, man, I think just the fact of how much there was a lot of hype. I mean, I don't know how much hype there actually was. I just know that there was a lot of like expectations for this film, and just a lot of people were comparing it to Avatar: The Last Airbender, myself included, because of how much it felt like Avatar: The Last Airbender, despite the fact that there were obviously a lot of different elements in this. And yeah, so but I went into this movie thinking, okay, well, this is Disney really dabbling in this, because what they've been kind of on this roll with, like, dabbling in different types of cultures and stuff. So this is them and their Asian culture and stuff. So just went in into the theater, obviously with the restrictions and stuff. There was a good amount of people, but I wouldn't say it was a packed house given how many seats were available. They weren't filled, but there were kids and there were other people who wanted to see it, and obviously myself. And overall, as a film, considering the circumstances that 2020 had, and from what I had to guess was a crazy production cycle, or yeah, crazy production, this is a pretty good film. It's not a fantastic film, however. I feel like, and there's a few reasons why that is. One is the runtime. I feel it's an hour and 45 minutes, but I mean that's including credits. That's including the credits. So I feel like if it was given another half an hour, maybe like make it over. If it was over a 2 hour film, maybe a 2.5 hour film. That's probably stretching it for a Disney film, but I felt like a lot of the things that they introduced, all the world, the characters, the different town, the different tribes and stuff, the backstory, the history, the creativity of these different areas of these lands that they were exploring, the fight scenes in this. I felt like they were dabbled with, but they weren't given enough time to fully dive into. And so because of that, I feel like that was one of the main reasons why this film was good but not great. For me, I really was the first half of this film, there were moments where I'm like, okay, that was really good. That could have gotten a little more time to breathe, but I liked it. I thought it was solid. But I wasn't fully saying to myself, yeah, this is a film I would come back to see. And yeah, again, it's because of those factors, but also because the comedy wasn't great. It was hit and miss. Like, there were definitely some jokes that didn't work, but then there were jokes that didn't work because of the time of the timeline they were in. Like, there was a joke about credits, and like how, oh yeah, you get something, you say it's credit because you'll pay it back later. I'm like, how is credit really the word you would want to be using in that time? Like, in this time that they're depicting? And there was this other one about the group project, which was in the trailer. Like, how, like, there's a group project and there's that one kid who doesn't really do much but turns it in. Yeah, that was me. And it's like, again, it's like, yeah, and so, but really, the second half of the movie is where I really started to enjoy it, especially when there's a certain moment when they're in this okay screw it. Spoilers, because we got to be warning people about spoilers. But okay, when they're when they're at the spine, and Raya and Shizu are captured by Tong, and then the rest of the group comes in and rescues them, and then they open the door, and because the villain, not villain, the antagonist shows up. I completely forgot her name, but the antagonist shows up, and then they open the door and they see the rest of the village, and then it's like just seeing all the statues, and then you realize that this one dude that captured them is all that's left of this village, all that's left of the spine. That was the moment where I'm like, literally my jaw dropped. I'm like, oh my, because up to that point it's like you see all these people interacting with each other, and it's like, well, you have the boy with the bow, he's very charming. He lost his family because of the Dorans, that's the dark spirits that have taken over that have slowly been taking over the land. He lost his family, and so he lives on his family's boat and survives off of that. It's like, yeah, he lost his family. That's sad. And then we have the kid, the baby with the monkeys. Like, she's going around in her area of the town where they're stealing from people and they're surviving. But again, it's like she lost her family, and it makes sense that she's doing it. But for this guy, he lost not only his family but his entire tribe to this spirit, and it's like, and they're not dead, they're turned to stone. That's the thing about this movie. But the fact that was that moment where I'm thinking, all of this guy's character and story and personality all of a sudden opened wide open, and I'm like, that was crazy. And then that's followed up with this epic fight that Raya has with the antagonist. They have this solid fight, but Raya is losing, and then Caesar comes in her dragon form and just blast this fog to distract her, and then she has this moment with the antagonist, and they're just giving this look, and you don't need words, because you see so much development happen between the exchange, the looks that they give each other, and it's just literally it was that entire second half of the sequence on the spine where I'm like saying, okay, this is definitely a movie I want to come back and watch. And honestly, I don't know if I will be able to, because I was lucky enough to get a ticket to see this thing, and not to mention with school, I was lucky enough to have time. So yeah, we'll see. But it was pretty much in that moment where I'm like, yeah, this is a good film. It's a really it has a lot of potential. That was the main thing I got out of this. This showed a lot of potential. And even the stuff that wasn't great, it wasn't bad. It was just okay. It was, it was like there was a few jokes that didn't land, but they weren't like, oh, that was terrible. It's like, for me, it was more of just like, we tried, that was okay. But, yeah, so there was also a few shocking moments in this. The third act especially, again, it's not a perfect third. The third act isn't flawless. There are definitely moments where it feels rushed and a little weird, but it's still a really good third act. And instead of making it a longer film, maybe you could have made this into a series. Again, I'm not trying to crap on the people that made this film, if any of them are watching this somehow, because, with literally given all the circumstances, the fact that this film came out the way it is pretty freaking good. The fact that I think the story was by 8 or 9 people, that is usually a recipe for disaster when so many people are attached to the story, because, everyone has their own ideas, everyone wants to try something out and weave into the story. But the fact that they all got together and made this really solid story, a really good idea, and it came out like this, is pretty good and pretty impressive. So props to all of them that worked. Props to everyone that worked on this movie. The cast, I thought everyone was really solid with their characters. I thought Raya. I think it's just the fact that I really kind of built this movie up hoping it was gonna be like a really really good film. Like, this is pretty much me wanting a Disney's take on Avatar. That's pretty much what I got out of this, or I wanted out of this, excuse me. And Raya, she has a pretty good character arc. I mean, obviously at the beginning of the film, she is very she has these prejudices, or not prejudices, she has these assumptions about each of the tribes that are not hers, because long ago, long ago, the dragons and the people lived together in harmony. But then everything changed when the Drune attacked. That's the opening narration. I'm just hearing Katara narrate the opening from Avatar in my head, and yeah, that's pretty much kind of what it was. But one thing I did like about the spirits about this was that the dragon. So like, it's kind of Legend of Korra, where in Legend of Korra the spirits were presented based on how a person was feeling. Like, if they were angry, they would be mean and dark. But if a person was happy, they would be nice and light. This movie, it basically takes those spirits and divides them up. Like, there's the Drune, that are spirits that are based off the anger and the darkness of a person, but the dragons are the good side of people, because like they said, dragons were given to the humans because of that, because of the light, because of what people of the word of the trust and worthiness that the people had. And the Drune came only because the people started growing dark, and so eventually it became to the point where the dragons were gone because they sacrificed themselves to get rid of the Drune, but in the process they weren't able to come back from being turned to stone. And you wonder why, but then you notice that the only thing that's keeping the Drune away is the jewel of the dragon. I think that's what I really think. I forgot. I forget if that's what it's called, but of course, with the fact that it's pretty much what's left of the dragons, and it's the only thing keeping the Drune away. Everyone wants it, and so then that's how this united world then becomes divided, because everyone wants they want to fight for it. And of course, once they fight for it and the thing breaks, that's when the Drune come and attack, because with that broken, they're able to come back and they're pretty much as strong as ever. But they still have one weakness, which is water. We got the aliens from Signs. But yeah, it was crazy. And so this is a good movie. I mean, again, maybe if this was a mini series and each episode was dedicated to something else, like you have an episode dedicated to Raya's backstory, you have an episode dedicated to each land that they visit, like you have an episode dedicated to Sisu's backstory, because they kind of gloss over. It's like they really rush that, in my opinion. Like, they're on the boat, they're trying to figure out the plan for getting the final piece of the gem. And, Sisu gives a plan, and so the thing about Sisu and Raya in this is that Raya, because of the fact that the people are divided, and it was pretty much their greed that caused all this in the first place, she's very untrusting. She doesn't trust anyone, and so each person that she meets, she's very, like the first kid, like the boy on the boat, like, he's making him a meal, but she doesn't want to eat it because she thinks it's poison. She's like, she's like, he could have poisoned it. And then she's just like, well, why would he poison it? And then I was like, oh, I don't know, to take my money, to take my sword, to take my ride. Be like a tuck, which is, I was hoping, I was worried that he's gonna be like an armadillo. He's kind of like an armadillo, but he's more efficient with his rolling. I don't know. He's part armadillo, part something. I don't know what the other part is, but I was worried that he was gonna be like Appa. He's not like Appa. He's more comedic. Like not that Appa wasn't comedic. Appa definitely had some funny moments in the show, but like Appa was more serious, but he had a comedic side. Tuk Tuk is more comedic, and he has a serious side. Like there are moments where he literally rolls in and messes stuff up. He's like back on the spine. He literally rolls in, pins tongue on the ground, and he's just giving him the stare like, yeah, don't mess with my. But yeah, it really, this movie really made me want to see more of this world, more of these characters. And if you made this into a series, if you made this story into a series, it could have really been a great series. I mean, just especially in the ending, like the ending that they show is a pretty powerful ending because they it comes down to the fact that the only way to truly beat the Droon is to trust each other. But of course, and there's one person in the group who's it's the antagonist because she got stuck with them. Because they're like, we can't trust her. She's the Fang. She's a part of the Fang tribe. We can't trust them. They're the ones who started all this because she stabbed Raya in the back. Well, she didn't stab. She pushed Raya in the back, as they said in the film, because Raya's father at the beginning, he invites all the tribes together, and they try and have a peace offering, and they try to bring peace, but then the leader of the Fang tribe, she has her daughter gain Raya's trust, and I was a little bit conflicted with it because I mean I get it. Raya is like, I trusted you and you stabbed me in the back, and because of this we're now in this world, and that's why she has that hate for her. But I felt like maybe they could have built more of the friendship up because they really became friends in my opinion way too quick. I mean, maybe dedicate more time to them interacting and bonding. Again, if this was a series, you could have dedicated an episode to part of that. But the other factor is, her father tells her to trust him on this. Like, trust that this will go well. And I felt like maybe they should have had a moment where Raya is conflicted with the fact, because she's like, because they talk about the legend of Sisu and how she's alive, and if she came back, then she can use the jewel to finally get rid of the Droon and possibly bring back the dragons. And then Raya, literally after that, it's like, you want to see the gem? It's like, really? Like maybe the girl egged it. Maybe if the antagonist egged her on a little bit, it's like she's like, it would be so amazing to see that jewel. I mean, I know that's crazy to think, but I've always wanted to see it. And like maybe Raya just like has that moment where she she glances towards the temple where the jewel is, and then she glances back at her father, and then just hears the words "trust me" in her head. Maybe a moment like that would have helped it. Because they go into the temple and they see the jewel, and then next thing you know, stabbed in the back. She tries to take the jewel, and then all of a sudden, all the tribes show up and they start fighting, and then the jewel breaks because they're fighting over it. And so again, there's a lot in this film, and I really wish they dabbled more into it. Again, I'm not trying to hate on this film. I really enjoyed this film. I really feel like this is a good stepping stone for Disney in terms of doing films like this. Now, in the future, if they got a chance to do a remake of this, I would be down for that. Because I really want to see a film or even a series like this done, where they're allowed to tackle every single idea they presented in this. Because I think it would really work, because it's a great idea. Because, we've had so many films nowadays talking about how prejudice sucks and that we have to unite, we have to come together, we can't, everyone is equal, there's no, this movie is basically saying, yeah, we have to come together, but the only way we can is by gaining that trust with each other. Because if we don't trust each other, how can we truly be united? And like they said, someone has to take the first step. And it's like, because that's the thing. This isn't something that happens overnight. It's a step-by-step process. It takes time. But the only way we can do it is if we slowly start doing it. If more, and so that's the thing about these movies. That's the thing about this movie. I'm sounding like a broken record, but there's a lot of good things in this film, but they're just not given enough time to fully explore it. But I did like this film. I really did. I mean, the fight scenes were cool. The characters were cool. The world they built was cool. Not a lot of the comedy was, like I said, hit and miss, but there was definitely a few moments where I'm like, okay, that was pretty funny. There wasn't a laugh out loud. There was not a single laugh out loud moment because none of the kids that were in the theater with me were bursting out laughing at any of the jokes. Like, there was a few giggles and stuff, but it was pretty straightforward. What else? I don't think I mentioned. Oh yes, Sisu, Aquafina, Water Dragon. There's a lot of jokes in that alone, but I like how she isn't just this comic relief character like they kind of showed her in the trailer. Like, it's like, oh, she's gonna be the comic relief, but then by the time you get to the end, she's gonna be the dragon that everyone was hoping for, and that she would bring peace and balance back to the world. But it's like, no, she actually. There are moments in this film before the third act where she does prove herself. She helps the group get out of a few jams, but she does get herself into a few jams as well. Especially with the joke about credit where she's on the town and she's like, she wants to give something to the chief to gain their trust, and it's the credit, but then she gets caught, and then Betty White captures her. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Betty White. I remember just sitting in my seat just like, Betty White is doing this? What the heck? But yeah, I mean, it's just the idea of, I mean, but the third act, man, I mean, I don't know if it was foreshadowed at all throughout the film, but I mean, again, spoilers. When the antagonist, when Raya is there with the antagonist outside the Fang land, kingdom, and they're talking, and then the antagonist pulls out the crossbow and says, like, I have to take the dragon along with the jewel, and then Sisu is like, it doesn't have to be this way. We can fix this together. You have to trust me on this. And you have that moment where she's holding the crossbow and her hand is right there on the trigger, ready to, like, she doesn't know if she's ready to fire. And I like how it's Raya who breaks the moment because she's thinking that the antagonist is going to pull the trigger, she whips her sword. Oh, the sword! I love that sword. It's just the one design of the sword is so cool. Like the dragon, the way, and then the squiggly thing. But then the fact that it works also as a grappling, it's so cool. It's like a whip. Like whoop, whoop. It's awesome, and I think it's my favorite sword. Out of all the swords I've seen in movies and TV shows and video games, that's probably my favorite sword now. I definitely wish I could make something like that. Not like of actual metal, like maybe a prop. It would be so cool to have a sword like that. But, I like how in that moment, it's Raya who breaks the trust. And in her attempt to stop her from pulling the trigger, the antagonist pulls the trigger and actually kills Sisu. I'm like, and being 2021, I'm like thinking, she could stay dead. Because it's like, like Sisu die believing that people can be trusted, and it's like that message could live on, but like, by the end they bring her back because when our heroes do the right thing and they trust one another and they restore the jewel, it's with that brings back the power and the dragons and takes the Druid away for good. And it's because of that, trust. But yeah, then Sisu comes back. I mean, I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this again. But you know, I mean, you got to bring her back because I mean, it makes sense, ish. But again, if this was a series, man, I sound like a broken freaking record, don't I? I freaking this is how much I like this movie. I mean, I was so into this even before it came out. I was like, I really hoped it was gonna do a lot, and it did. But now I wanted more. I want more of it, and it's. I wish. Yeah, it's. Oh man, I really am just. I mean, it's really just this movie. I mean, if you don't know if you want to watch it or not, I recommend go seeing this. See this film, whether you have it on Disney Plus or you have to go to a theater. See this film at least once. If you see this film and you're like, yeah, it's not my thing. Maybe there's too much going on. Yeah, I get it, but in my opinion, it presented a lot of ideas. There's a lot of great things in this film, and not to mention, it is a stepping stone for Disney. Like, I can definitely see Disney films down in the next couple of years come out with these same ideas, but they're done better. They're executed better because that's kind of how this is. It's a process. You can't just make the greatest film of all time just like that. It takes time. It takes attempts. You know, you experiment with things. You're like, okay, well, we'll try this and see how that works. And if it doesn't, then you're like, okay, well, then we'll work with this, or we'll take the good and see how this works. You know, it's a process. And again, if down the line they try and remake this film, I would be down for it if they do it right, not like the other Disney live action remakes like we've gotten. God, I really don't like those films, but okay, yeah. All right, I think I've gone on a long enough rant for this. I hope you guys enjoyed that rant. That was definitely a lot. Maybe. Well, actually, is there anything else I want to talk about this film? Um. hmm. Well, okay. No, yeah, I think that's all the. I think that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about. Really, just the idea of this movie being more, you know, allowed to be more than just an hour and 45-minute movie. Yeah. Okay. 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 Well, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want. You don't have to. You can check out all my other stuff on the channel. You know, got some Owl House stuff, got some video game stuff, got some reactions. I got my review to WandaVision as well. I'm gonna be doing reviews down the line. Might try some other things. I don't know. If you guys want me to do anything else, leave it down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can possibly do it. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one. Gotta do that. Yeah, I gotta do that.